Привет! Today I would like to read you a story of one of my favorite children's Soviet writers, whose name is Viktor Dragunsky, and I've already read you one of his stories previously. I can give you a link under this video, and today I would like to read you a story which is called Chicken Bouillon, and as an ex-vegan, I would like to maybe warn you that if you are not okay with descriptions of cooking meat or some products, like how to say it, animals who were alive previously, then maybe you can skip this story. But if you're okay with that, then it's fine. I just in case, I decided to warn. I always been okay with that, but I can understand it, so just in case. And I don't want to prolong it any longer, so let's just begin. Mom brought a chicken home from the store, a big, bluish one with long, bony legs. On its head, the chicken had a large red comb. Mom hung it outside the window and said, "If Dad comes home early, let him cook it. Will you tell him?" I said, "With pleasure." And Mom went to the institute. I got out my watercolor paints and started to draw. I wanted to draw a squirrel jumping through the trees in the forest, and at first it was turning out great. But then I looked and saw that it wasn't a squirrel at all, but some kind of guy who looked like a monster. The squirrel's tail turned out to be his nose, and the branches on the tree looked like hair, ears, and a head. I was very surprised that it had turned out that way, and when Dad came home, I said, "Guess what I drew, Dad?" He looked and thought for a moment. "A fire in the forest?" "What are you saying, Dad? Take a good look." Then Dad looked more carefully and said, "Oh, sorry, it's probably a football match." I said, "You are so inattentive. Are you tired?" And he said, "No, not really. I'm just hungry. Do you know what's for lunch?" I said, "There, hanging outside the window. Cook it and eat it." Dad unhooked the chicken from the window frame and put it on the table. Easy to say, cook it. Cooking it is possible. Cooking it is no big deal. The question is, what form should we eat it in? You can make at least 100 wonderful, nutritious dishes from a chicken. You could make simple chicken patties, or you could whip up a Minister schnitzel with grapes. I've read about it. You can make a cutlet on the bone called a Kiev cutlet. You'll lick your fingers. You can boil chicken with noodles, or you can press it with an iron, pour garlic over it, and you'll get, like in Georgia, tabaka chicken. You can finally... But I interrupted him. I said, "Dad, cook something simple without any irons. Something, the fastest." Dad immediately agreed. "Right, son. What's important for us? To eat quickly. You've grasped the very essence. So what can we cook quickly? The answer is simple and clear. Bouillon." Dad even rubbed his hands together. I asked, "Do you know how to make bouillon, Dad?" But Dad just laughed. "What's there to know?" His eyes even sparkled. "Bouillon is simpler than steamed turnips. Put it in the water and wait for it to cook. That's the whole trick. It's settled. We make in bouillon, and very soon we'll have a 2-course lunch. First course, bouillon with bread, and second course, boiled chicken, hot and steaming. Now drop your brush and come help." I said, "What should I do?" "Look here. See those little hairs on the chicken? Trim them off because I don't like hairy bouillon. You trim off those hairs and I'll go to the kitchen and put water on to boil." And he went to the kitchen. I took Mom's scissors and started cutting the hairs of the chicken one by one. At first I thought there wouldn't be many, but then I looked closely and saw there were a lot, even too many. So I started snipping them off, trying to cut quickly like in a barber shop, and I clicked the scissors in the air as I moved from here to here. Dad came into the room, looked at me and said, "Take more of the sides, or it look like a buzz cut." I said, "It's not coming off very quickly." But then Dad suddenly slapped his forehead. Heavens! With such blockheads, you and me, Deniska. How could I forget? Stop the haircut. It needs to be singed over the fire. You know, that's what everyone does. We'll burn it over the flame. All the hairs will burn off and there'll be no need for cutting or shaving. Follow me. And he grabbed the chicken and ran to the kitchen with it. I followed. We lit a new burner because a pot of water was already on one and started singeing the chicken over the flame. It burned well and smelled like burnt wool throughout the whole apartment. Dad turned it from side to side, saying, "There, there. Oh, what a good little chicken. Soon it will be all burnt and become clean and white." But the chicken, on the contrary, turned kind of blackish, completely charred, and finally Dad turned off the gas. He said, "It seems to me it's accidentally gotten smoked." "Do you like smoked chicken?" I said, "No, it's not smoked, it's just covered in soot. Come on, Dad, let me wash it." He was downright happy. "You are a clever one," he said. "You are smart. You have a good heredity. You are just like me. Come on, my friend, take this chimney sweep chicken and wash it thoroughly under the faucet because I'm already tired of this fuss." And he sat down on a stool. And I said, "Right away, I'll do it in a flash." I went to the sink, turned on the water, put our chicken under it and started scrubbing it with my right hand as hard as I could. The chicken was very hot and terribly dirty, and I immediately got my hands dirty up to my elbows. Dad was rocking back and forth on the stool. "See," I said, "what did you do to it, Dad? It's not washing off at all. Too much soot." "Nonsense," said Dad. "The soot is only on the surface. It can't be made entirely of soot, can it? Wait a minute." And Dad went to the bathroom and brought me a big piece of strawberry soap. "Here," he said, "wash it good. Lather it up." And I started lathering that unfortunate chicken. It was starting to look completely lifeless. I soaped it up pretty well, but it didn't rinse off well. Dirt ran off for probably half an hour, but it didn't get any cleaner. I said, "This damn chicken just smears around when you use soap." Then Dad said, "Here's a brush. Take it, scrub it good. Start with the back and then everything else." I started scrubbing. I scrubbed with all my might, even rubbing through the skin in some places. But it was still very hard for me because the chicken suddenly seemed to come alive and started spinning in my hands, slipping and every second trying to jump out. And Dad still didn't get off his stool, just kept giving orders. "Scrub harder, more carefully. Hold it by the wings. Oh, you, I see you don't know how to wash a chicken at all." So I said, "Dad, try it yourself." And I handed him the chicken. But before he could take it, it suddenly jumped out of my hands and hopped under the first cabinet. But Dad didn't lose his cool. He said, "Hand me the mop." And when I handed it to him, Dad started using the mop to rake it out from under the cabinet. First he raked out old Mousetrap, then my tin soldier from last year, and I was incredibly happy because I thought I had lost him completely. But there he was, my dear one. Then Dad finally pulled out the chicken. It was all dusty, and Dad was all red. But he grabbed it by its little leg and dragged it back under the faucet. He said, "Well, now hold on right, bluebird of happiness." And he rinsed it fairly clean and put it in the pot. Just then Mom came home. She said, "What this mess you have here?" Dad sighed and said, "We're cooking the chicken." Mom said, "Have you been at it long?" "We just put it in," said Dad. Mom took the lid of the pot. "Did you salt it?" she asked. "Later," said Dad, "when it's cooked." But Mom smelled the pot. Did you got it? She said. Later, said Dad, when it's cooked. Mom sighed and took the chicken out of the pot. She said, Deniska, please bring me my apron. I'll have to finish everything for you. Use sorry excuse for cooks. I ran into the room, grabbed the apron, and also picked up my picture from the table. I gave Mom the apron and asked her, Here, what did I draw? Guess, Mom. Mom looked and said, A sewing machine, right? So there was the story. I hope that it was interesting for you to listen. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and пока-пока.